the way I look at things and the way I view things now. I think that once you get out of something that you feel is holding you back, your potential is endless. Like we talk about that here often, like how much everybody here's grown since they've started and their roles have grown.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. In today's video, I am so excited because I'm interviewing our very own Tabatha from our team who works in our marketing department. I am so excited because she has such a unique story that I think so many of you may relate to. She took so many bets on herself, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear it from her specifically. And she even has a fun story to share with you guys about how long it actually took for everything to line up for her to take a role and join the Makers Can Learn team. It's such a fun story. I can't wait for you to check it out. So be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and dive right into the interview. Tabatha, welcome to the Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I think you're our first, well, obviously our first in-house guest that has not been in the studios. I guess Sadie's our first guest that has not been on camera near as much, but I'm so excited because your story is so unique, and it is going to be, I think, so interesting for more of our Makers Gonna Learn members and friends of the channel to get to learn more about some of our positions that people may have never even thought about. So do you want to share a little bit about what you do here at Makers Gonna Learn, and more about you?
Well, I am the email marketer. It's what I do.
Yes.
I write all the Makers Gonna Learn emails, and then I do assist with some of
any marketing.
Yeah.
Like you're like one of our only marketers, like that are just diehard marketing. Like we all participate. I feel like it's a family affair here. But it's like your baby.
Yeah, marketing is my passion. It has been for a very long time. That's what my college degree's in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just, I enjoy piddling in the random things that we do here, but email's my baby.
Yes. So explain to everyone how long you've been here working, and then I want to go back to one of my favorite stories about our work relationship. So how long have you been writing email here?
So I started working part-time. It was either at the end of February or the very, very beginning of March of 2022.
So little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year. And the reason I say it might have been the end of February because I think I wrote maybe 2 or 3
Some
emails.
of the National Craft Month.
And then it hit hard. We had National Craft Month, and I was like, oh my gosh, this
like,
is
what am I
crazy.
doing? Am I bombarding these people? We have, in case you all didn't know, email marketing is like probably our most, I won't say aggressive, but we do a lot of email marketing here. If you're not on our email list, I mean, we send out emails for everything. If you're not a member, we always send you out deals for when you can join. We let people know when we're going live. We even send out emails for podcasts like this, which is super awesome. But the story I want to start with is I have never normally, and this is full transparency, anytime I have a vision of someone like working on the team or like a position comes available, I think you're the only person that I've spent so long working on like the time to come. Because normally I'll be like, okay, like, do you want to work here? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, bye. So it took us a year.
It took a year, yes.
It's crazy.
It is crazy to think about because I'm normally a very impulsive person.
Yeah, me too.
So the fact that it took me a full year, even like my husband and I talk about it all the time. We laugh about it because we're like, this was a God thing.
Yes.
1,000%.
1,000%.
So yeah.
It was crazy. When we first started discussing it, I think your role was pretty much still going to be very similar, but also very different in the sense probably, I really wasn't working too much in the marketing side of the business at the time that I was really wanting to bring you in. And it has been such a fun year of chatting and, not even knowing would this eventually work out or not. So I thought maybe you could share more about how you even ended up here. Because I think everyone's origin story, like as we were walking in the studio, talking about how like we're all like similar, where we thought, even me, like I even thought, in my story, like I thought I would be running a marketing agency, hustling like 12, 14, 15 hours a day for other people's company and never getting to serve the amazing people we serve here. So you were sharing earlier about how like this is everyone's story of like we thought we wanted something else, but then we ended up here.
I'm glad you brought up the marketing agency because that kind of sets the tone for my thoughts on working with you. As funny as that sounds, and I don't know that I've ever told you this. We crossed paths many years ago when I worked at the utility. And you came in and I sat in on one of your meetings and I was like, I want to work either with him or like him one day.
Yeah.
But that was, oh my gosh, I don't even remember how many years ago that was.
7. Did we officially, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Probably.
I
don't think you'd started Makers Gonna Learn
yet. No. I think we were just at the beginning stages
Gotcha.
of launching this company. And we officially got introduced through Sarah, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The work connection.
It was, but ironically enough, Patricia, which was a girl that worked at the utility as well, came into my office one day and was like, Tanner just posted that he is going to have a marketing position open and I wanted to bring it to your attention.
No way.
So
Patricia's got your back.
She did.
I love
she
Patricia.
Did. So I called Sarah and I was like, tell me
about
Tanner.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That he's great to work for. But we'll back up. So my journey started in the workforce, the professional workforce when I was 20. I got hired in our local utility. And I had my eyes set on a position that I wanted. And as grateful and as blessed, as much of a blessing as this was, I got to that position a lot quicker.
How quick?
I worked for the utility for 10 years.
Okay.
However, the lady that was in the position was an older lady, and she knew she was going to retire. And they hired me as her assistant probably 5 years in, which is normally unheard of. Like if you're a cashier or at the drive-thru or whatever, you stay there for a while. Mm-hmm. But they hired me as her assistant, so I moved back to her assistant. And I worked under her for 5 years.
Okay.
And then I trained under her for 5 years. And a year, actually, she announced that she was going to retire. And she gave her notice on how long that she was going to work.
Right.
And I ended up pregnant. So she ended up having to stay longer because I was pregnant.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. And once I got into her position, I was kind of like,
I made it.
This is it. Where else is there to go? There's nowhere else here. And if you get hired in at a utility board, it's normally you stay there.
Right.
You retire there. That's one of the best jobs that you can have in our small town. And it just didn't fulfill me. It wasn't creative. It wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't fun, but it really wasn't. It wasn't fun.
What's crazy, and this is just for all the listeners, I had a contract with the utilities to make a few commercials. Y'all, they're only marketing to like, I think they told me once like 4,000 people that doesn't use their internet. Like a utility has no marketing really needed because you use the utility that you're in the district for. Like it's very black and white. There's very few add-ons. So it's fascinating to me. The whole thing is just so fascinating. And everyone at the utilities, like, they're just doing their thing. And it's just the same thing every day. And like, that's so different from here.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So when you were in the role, I mean, obviously you had your baby Blair. Mm-hmm. When was it? Was it before the pregnancy, after the pregnancy that you realized like you were wanting more, something different? You're also a blogger.
Yes.
Which we should totally touch on. How long have you been blogging?
Oh, I don't even want to say that I've really been blogging because I write like 3 blog posts a year. And then I'm like, why is it not making it? So I actually started my blog to give me some sort of a creative outlet because,
Yeah.
like you just said, there's really no creativity at the utility, and that's nothing against the utility. That's just
Yeah.
the nature of it. You either buy the utilities or you buy the internet. Like, what
Yeah.
else can you do? So I started my blog. Tyler and I had been married, I think, about a year when I started the blog, and he was like, "Yeah, you've got to have something because
You're driving me crazy.
You're driving me crazy. You need an outlet." So, I was starting to question my life decisions probably when I ended up pregnant with Blair.
Okay.
And I have always been the type to say that I would never be a stay-at-home mom. I was always career driven. I had a job from literally the time that I could drive and get a job until now.
Yeah.
So I always thought that I would just be this professional. I was going to take over the world. Like, I wanted to be this big CEO of a company, and when
All
you're,
the things.
Yeah, you're young and crazy. You think you're going to do all these crazy things, and it hit me like a ton of bricks once I ended up pregnant that that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
It wasn't fulfilling. It didn't have flexibility. And then COVID hit, and we all got to work from home, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
And this was the first time that you ever got to work at home in any capacity, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you're in utility, you're in the office.
You got to be in the office.
every day.
Every day.
But my job, I could do every bit of it from home, and I was like, this is a new life. What is this?
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed working from home, because we have, I call our work environment hybrid. Like, if you needed to come in, please, it's open. Open the codes, like type in the codes. You can be in the building. What's interesting for me and working from home isn't the lack of work. I actually find it way more productive to work from home, which is strange, very strange to say. Like, even like, I feel like you have so much more to give because you didn't waste all the time like getting there, and there's no, you're just so focused. And I think for a lot of people, until they get to experience working from home, you have less interactions, which means when the days that I work really hard working from home, by the end of the day, I still have like my cup's still full enough to go like see friends, like go pour into other people. When spending a whole day in the office, I'm like,
I'm ready to go home.
I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to curl up in my bed. I'm ready. You know what I mean? Like, it's so different working from home, and everyone that has worked from home or is working from home, like, they probably know, but for people that don't, it's really different.
It's so different, and I've laughed and said it's a different lifestyle, but honestly, that's what it is. And one of the best pieces of advice that you ever gave me when I first came on here about working from home, you was like, if you need a break, just get up from your computer and go outside and sit in the sun.
Yeah.
Tanner, that's life-changing.
It is.
It's life-changing. And then there's some days I'll take my laptop and I'll sit on my rocking chair on my front porch, and it's just
It's different.
It's so different. It's incredible.
I mean,
actually.
we go on walks here at the office, but when you're working and you want to go out for a second and like see what's going on out in the world, just and go for a quick walk, I'll walk to my mailbox, which is a far track. But I will just walk to the mailbox, and then I'm like, I'll leave my computer and I'll been like, I'm not getting nothing done. And I'll come back and be like, oh my gosh, where did this energy come from? I'm like ready to go.
Yep.
It's just so fascinating, like the in office, out of office dynamics of what it could be like. So now that we jumped to working from home, I just love it. I find it really interesting. It's so different. And I probably would love to work from home more personally too. Like, it's so good. But I love being in the office too, because it's just like I want to be everywhere. Yeah. I want to be everywhere. Like, that's the cool part.
Yeah, and I like being in the office. Like, I come in every Tuesday if I can, and then sometimes I'll randomly show up through the week just because I like sitting and interacting with everybody. Like, I like seeing what's going on, and honestly, that helps me write my emails because I can listen to how you guys talk, and I can translate that into an email, and it doesn't sound like you're talking, like the emails don't sound like they're coming from somebody that nobody's ever heard before. Yeah. They're your voice. They're Alicia's voice. They're Lauren's voice. They're Courtney's voice.
And that's the beauty of the work that you do in the email. It's just so fascinating. Like, because the more content you consume, the better it can be and everything like that. But I really want to go back to when we first were coming up with your position and like really clarifying it back in like June, July of 21, and like how you felt about like leaving the job that you had worked, I mean, a decade for. What were you like thinking, feeling? Like,
So
how was it?
it was hard. So I'll back up to Patricia coming into my office, because Patricia and I were really good friends, and we had talked about that we didn't know that we saw ourselves retiring there, which again was unheard of. You
Everybody
retire
there.
from the utility if you get in. But I called Sarah, and Sarah was like, just reach out to him. Just reach out to him. And I did. And I actually looked at that email this morning. I was just like, hey, Tanner, I reached out to Sarah. She told me to reach out to you. You could have a marketing position coming open. I would love to know a little bit more. And then we got coffee. We met at 60 Beans. And I left there and was like, oh my gosh, this is something I could do. And then the more I thought about it, the more scared I got.
Yeah, you were very, I mean, there was a lot of conditioning. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's very, but it's a great position. I mean, you had a great role.
I had a cushy job.
Very.
I had a very cushy job.
Yes.
I had amazing benefits, 401k, health insurance, all the things. And it was just, you offered me a few different options. There was the contracting position, which at the time I was like, no.
Scared. You were so scared of that.
I was so scared. I was like, I don't know how to pay taxes. I'm not doing that. And then you offered me a full-time position in office.
Yeah.
And then you offered me kind of a hybrid of the both. I can't even remember, but there was a third option.
Yeah. I don't remember it either. I'll tell you.
There was 3 options, because I remember the contracting job was off the table for me. I was like, that's not happening.
Yes.
So I was flirting with the other 2. Tyler and I talked about it. Tyler was very supportive and was like, if this is something you want to do, then go for it. And I think we met another time.
I think so.
And you got more into the position, like more into the role, because that first time was kind of us just filling each other out a little bit.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you remember this, but the very first time we met, you were telling me like what I wanted, like what kind of a salary I was looking at, like how much would I want to make hourly?
Yeah.
Would I want to be salary? Would I want a contract? And I was like, what I want to make? I want to make $100,000, like just joking with you. And he was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
And I was like,
totally.
what? I can do that? That's what? You can do that in this type of world? Like, I didn't know what this entailed. So ultimately, I just had this gut feeling that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. I literally cried, because I was like, this is something I want. This seems more fulfilling than the position I'm in.
Yeah.
But something it didn't sit right with me. And I turned you down.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. I remember all of the emails transpiring and all of that. I was really not even working a lot that summer anyway, which is fascinating. It would really have been, looking back, so good. Like, as terrible as it felt in the moment, it was so good. And I'm really glad it all worked out the way it has, and like slow and steady.
Yes.
But what's really fascinating, and I would love for you to share with everyone that may be interested in the contracting position, because when I got to hear from you, and when I got to talk to you, and when I got to hear you like light up over your daughter and how much you wanted to be home more, I really felt like the contracting position would give you the best of both. You would get the opportunity to do whatever you want. If anyone's not familiar with a contracting position, a lot of people here in America really, I think, dispute contracting roles and actually have a lot more employees as a contractor than they should, because they really should be employees. But if you're under a contracting relationship, the contract says it could be for a set amount of hours per week. It could be a set amount of things to be completed. But the caveat is that as the contract, the person giving the contract, as the employer or the payee, you cannot tell a contractor how to complete their work and what time to be there and what time to work. So the beauty of the contracting role is that you have so much flexibility. I mean, obviously you have to show up if there's a meeting and things like that, but the actual time period of working is when the flexibility enters in and you can work all the time. So how did you start opening yourself up more to from cushy job to a contract, which is literally, I think our contract is what, like 4 pages? I don't even know.
I can't remember.
I can't even remember. It's been so long since we signed it. Yeah, I don't know.
So
I think there's a lot of people here that may want to explore more about what a contract role is, like how to, I mean, there's so many opportunities to get contract roles, and all the things. So how did it go for you in those 12 months between us chatting again? Because we'll end up getting there, but how did all of this happen?
So
with your personal work? When
I first heard of a contract, I was like everybody else and was like, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
Because in my head, the contract could be terminated any given moment, and it can ultimately.
Sure.
But to me, I was coming from a cushy job that I hate to say this, but it's kind of hard to get fired from unless you really mess up. If he doesn't like my work, he can just let me go, and then I've got nothing. Because I think you mentioned on a podcast with someone else that you have this life that you've built up and you're expecting to live, and then you just it was hard for me to imagine taking that second income and completely cutting it.
Sure.
So I didn't understand what a contract was. And then you sat down actually, and it was one of our other meetings, and was like explaining to me, I think because you could see I was so confused.
There was a lot of just the thought I felt like for you about the contract was crazy.
It was. And you explained to me, and we'll give you 30-day notice. We'll give you 60-day notice. We'll give you 90. We're not just going to cut you.
Yeah.
And there's this, there's this, there's these type of benefits.
Yeah.
What sold me was you can work whenever you want to.
Yeah.
And you have 2 little ones, so sometimes that means you're not working from 8 to 12 in the day. You're working during their nap time, and if they go to bed at 8 o'clock, you're still wired from the day, and you're working from 8 to 12 at night.
Yeah.
So that is what sold me, is I could make my own hours. Like you said, I come to meeting. I come into the office on Tuesdays most of the time because that's our meeting days. But other days, if I want to take my daughter to the park in the middle of the day,
go for it.
I can go. I get all my work done for the day before the day it's due, obviously.
Right.
And if you need me, I've got my laptop. Always keep my laptop with me unless I'm really can't get to it. And that's what sold me was the flexibility that you don't have as a normal employee most places. Most places you're tied to a desk from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. And that's where you sit all day. And as bad as it sounds, whether you have work or you don't have work, you're sitting there.
Yeah.
So,
it's really interesting. And that's what, in our conversations when I was I guess I was trying to sell you on the contract role because it really was, in my opinion, what you really wanted. And
I just didn't know that.
Maybe. I don't, that's just what I felt. I don't know. You took it.
You understood it though. I didn't. So I didn't know that's what I needed.
Yeah. And for full transparency for everyone listening, no one else that is in our office is actually a contract role. Everyone else on the team is just a typical team member, employee. And each one, I would argue, has very different benefits. Mm-hmm. Both have benefits.
Yes.
They're just very different.
Yes.
And things like that. Obviously you have health insurance other places. If you needed health insurance, that's something we can't offer to contractors, simple stuff like that. You did end up meeting, you use our accountant.
I did, yeah.
And that's the cool part. That was you just pay him.
Yeah.
And he worries about all the things and looks out for you with all the contracting, self-employment things. There's one thing I find really interesting because I've been a contractor. So for me, as a contractor, you can write off so many things. You can really make your taxes very beneficial. Your phone bill, is now like part of your write-offs. Your home internet, a portion of your home can be written off. I mean, listen,
It's crazy.
it's crazy. And like, for what I really want everyone to understand is that we're in a small little town. And like, I just want one thing to be from like all of these podcasts. Like, everyone that listens to Makers Gonna Learn or watches Makers Gonna Learn, like, we have so much belief in them that they could have a side hustle, have a creative business, work, like switch careers. Like, they could do whatever they want. But the reason why is because we surround ourselves with people that have done it, and we see what's possible because people like you have done scary stuff. I mean, every one of our story all have places we came from, places we thought we really wanted to be. And when we got there, we realized like there's more. So I think it's so crazy to even open the thought for people of this podcast to say, wait, I could serve my purpose. I could work really hard, but I wouldn't have to be tied to my computer, like a regular schedule. I could have time for my kids, my grandkids, travel, whatever. And I'm still in like this little small town. Like a lot of us are, you know? So what has your friends and family like thought of you as you've pivoted and still been able to keep your career and your kids at the forefront?
At first, it was half and half. Half were supportive, half were not.
That's how it goes.
My dad was so terrified because my dad works at the town over from us, their utility. So he was like,
Lord.
"Oh my gosh, you're quitting the utility? What is wrong with you?" And we'll get back to this, but it was not a hard job. Like, I didn't just cut it off at the utility. Like,
Yeah.
I slow paced into this, which I think is a really cool story as well that I'll touch on here in a few minutes. But and then my dad did all kinds of research on you and your company.
Oh gosh.
So it was so funny. But he knew he had connections, like, and you've mentioned Kendall. Like, I grew up going to church with Kendall. So of course my dad was like talking to her parents' friends that are around his age and was like, "What do you know about this Tanner guy?" Like,
I would really be scared to know what these people are really saying about me.
they like sang your praises.
Oh,
It's because my dad
gosh.
called me, like, this is weeks into this.
This is so funny.
Into me saying, "I really think I'm going to quit. I think I'm going to go work with him." And my dad was like, "I just don't know about this. Like, this is a huge change. Like, you have a baby. You're wanting to grow your family more. You have this your beautiful house. Like, just think about the things that you could lose." Well, that's scary in and of itself. But then he talked to a gentleman, which Brian, which is
I need
Amber
the
and
last name.
Katie's dad.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
He talked to Brian, and then he came to me and he was like, "Why are you not doing something like this? Like, he is so successful. Why are you?" And I was like, "Are you serious?
so
2 days
funny.
ago, you were telling me
How terrible and
how
scary this should be.
yeah, and now
Yeah.
you're like," and it came out of a place of love. It was
Yeah.
not
No.
him trying
It's,
to
it's
discourage.
really sweet. It's really sweet. What's funny to me locally in our town, which is very small, we are about to get a standalone Starbucks, which I think deserves its moment. But I noticed such a shift. I don't really talk about like people know that I work on the internet, but I really don't talk about it as much as like I guess other people do. But the pivot for me when people thought like I was super successful, which is funny about what I'm about to say, when I bought rental property, like when I started investing in real estate is when people were like, wow, like this is he's made it. I'm like, y'all, it's just a different asset class. Like, there's nothing special about like being real estate. I mean, I think it's very special to be a real estate investor, but it's just funny how like locally you're seen as like a different, I don't know. I felt like there was such a shift in how people would describe me once I invested in real estate, which I just find that funny. Like,
Well, it's small town USA. Real estate's a big thing here.
it is. It's getting it's getting a lot more expensive here, which is crazy.
It's because your Starbucks that's coming, Tanner.
Well, did you? Sorry. This is a tangent on my property. My first apartment complex. We're totally going on a sidetrack. Did you know the Starbucks is going across the street from it, and they're putting a red light in right at the Starbucks, which means my road where my apartment complex is has the red light. So I mean, I think I think it's gonna be great. Like the property values are just going up.
We got too many red lights here now. It stresses me out. Listen,
do.
I grew up a town over in a little bitty tiny town that nobody's probably ever heard of that had one red light. Like all these red lights here,
That's how it
I'm
goes.
done. I'm ready to go back.
Yeah,
I'm going back to the country.
going back. I mean, hey, it'd be crazy. So you started selling yourself on the contract. How did we? This is a genuine question. I should have asked you this before the show. Did we reach out to you?
Yes.
I thought so. Okay.
You had, me and you stayed in contact.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We
even
were talking on
we
Instagram.
were,
like,
yeah, and
I
we were
kept
still
up.
friends. And you mentioned me doing the email marketing. Like, I halfway thought it was joking, but I told Tyler, I was I don't know
Lord.
if he's joking or not. And then there was another time. I texted you about something, and you were in church. And I don't even remember what I texted you about. I sent you something, and you were like, hey, let's meet this week. And I was like,
look at me.
I said, Tyler, third time's a charm.
Look
Like,
at-
let's just, I'm going to meet with him.
That's how it
So
goes.
I met with you. We had a very professional conversation about the position. And
Yeah.
that's when you sat down and explained the contract to me.
Yes. That was when you came here, right? Was that time or was that like the last meeting before you started?
I think that was the last meeting before I started. So
Many.
excuse me. We sat down and we talked about the contract. I was still not
Scared to
sold.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I don't know that you know this.
Oh, I'm excited.
I actually accepted your position as a full-time employee. And the person who I was would have been working with at the time called me back like an hour later and was like, I told you a lot of stuff that's not going to work. And I cried. I literally cried.
What?
Because I was like, I thought I was going to like get to work from home a lot.
Yeah.
But it was a misunderstanding on mine and her behalf.
Oh,
because you had
wow.
presented it as a contract position and we heard it as the full-time
Wow.
position. And so I was
That's
like, oh my
crazy.
gosh, yes. And she was like, Tabatha, you can do this contract position. I have full faith in you.
Look at
1000%
Angela.
right.
That's so cool.
And I was like, let me pray about it.
I gotta get back to you.
And I ended up saying, I'll come work part-time. So I was working 20 hours a week for
Yeah.
you and 40 hours a week for the utility. And I was a mom. Blair
Oh
was
my
just over a year
gosh.
old, was a wife. Like, was
Yeah.
trying to live my life.
Trying to
Trying
live
to
my
live
life.
my
I
life.
love that.
And as funny as this sounds, we met, and I was going to Disney the next week.
I remember this.
We met at 60 Beans.
Yes.
And it was just to review my work because I had been working
yes, like 3 weeks.
3
in,
weeks or
probably.
something, and to make
Probably
sure
good.
everybody was content and happy. And you offered me, you said, you can do this as long as you want to, or you can come contract with me full time.
Oh.
And
Then you had to go to Disney.
I went to Disney and I worked the entire time I was in Disney.
Lord.
No,
what were
I
you
loved it.
doing?
I loved
What
it.
were you? You could have been eating all those snacks.
Oh, it wasn't while I was in the park. It was like at nighttime when Blair was sleeping
Yeah, I know,
and
I know.
Tyler was sleeping and all the
Lord.
things. And I loved it. And
Yeah.
we came home and I walked into work that Monday and I literally sat down at my desk and I looked around and I said, this isn't for me anymore.
See ya.
And I went and told Tyler. Tyler works at the.
I was about to say, y'all don't know this.
Tyler
but
still works at the
It's a
utility.
family affair. It's a family affair at the utility.
That one was.
Was there not a no nepotism policy?
There was, but we got
How'd y'all get around it?
got married after he started working there. And he was in a different department. Like I was FiberNet. He was the IT for internal
Mm-hmm.
utility. So he was on the electric side. So we had no correlation whatsoever. So it
awesome.
worked. Don't worry. Before he got hired, we were dating and we like presented
Had to go through
it.
all of it.
We did. We like they sat down and talked to both of us. Like if you break up,
Who's
who's leaving?
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
So we got home. Actually, we got in the car. I won't even say we got home because we rode to work together. We got in the car and I said, I'm done. Like
It's not magical here like Disney.
Disney changed me. I said, this is not fulfilling for me. We've known this for a long time. I'm going to take the contractor full-time position and I can raise our family.
Yeah.
So
how has it been? I mean, work is like work.
Yeah.
But how has it been for you leaving a place you just showed up and like let work happen to stepping in here. I mean, I've seen you grow so much as just an amazing team member, helping write strategy and all the things. Like, how has it been for you stepping into like a whole new role?
I feel like it's helped me grow as a person. I gave a 90-day notice at the utility, which
Very
is
generous.
unheard of. People told me I was insane for doing that, but I trained in that position for 5 years. So I couldn't just give a 2-week notice and train someone to take my position because I kind of left them high and dry. If we're being honest,
90 days is pretty generous.
yes, but I mean, like they spent 5 years training me, and then I was like, bye.
Yeah.
So I spent 90 days training someone, and the whole time, again, I was still contracting with you part time, and training and raising a family. And as funny as this sounds, I actually watched the videos last night. I recorded myself after I walked out of that place for the last time, and I was crying my eyes out because they were my family. Like, it wasn't just work. I grew up there. I was 20 when I started there.
Yeah.
So I watched those videos, and just to see the difference in my reactions and the way I look at things and the way I view things now, I think that once you get out of something that you feel is holding you back, your potential is endless. Like, we talk about that here often, like how much everybody here has grown since they've started and their roles have grown. I got hired in to do email marketing, which is, again, still my baby, but I love watching everybody craft. I made my own shirts this weekend.
I was about to say, y'all, Tabatha got a Cricut, and she's going back to Disney and been making some bomb Disney shirts.
These are actually for my friend that got married this weekend.
Oh, wow. Well,
so
that was really big. That was a complex project. I don't know. How was weeding? You've watched so many.
Weeding, though, because I used to weed at the utility because a lady that I worked with would make our company like extracurricular shirts. Like if we wore
like going on a trip or something.
Yeah, or like we did a lot of the Christmas parade shirts. Like we always made Christmas parade sweatshirts, and I was in charge of weeding. So I know how to weed. I just didn't know how to get to that point.
Yeah.
So I made those this weekend. Ironically enough, I was supposed to come into the office last week and have Alicia help me after hours because I didn't know how to use it. Well, I didn't think I did know how to use a Cricut.
Oh, but you did.
And Blair got strep throat. So we couldn't come in, and I'm very pregnant. So I was like, I'm going to end up with strep throat. And I just like, it's not going to happen. So I watched YouTube, Maker's Gonna Learn YouTube videos. And I made my shirt.
No, that's a success story right there. That is a success story. It only took a year of writing emails to get you to make a shirt. That is all it took.
Only a year. Only a year. It's fun.
Oh, what has been the most, I don't want to say that you're like, I don't want to say like, what's the one thing that you enjoy the most about working here? But what's the one thing you have enjoyed the most that you didn't expect being on the team? Like, has there been something like, you know what? This isn't that bad.
None of it's bad. Like, I was never had a doubt in my mind that there was something I wouldn't like. Let me take that back. I went from being in an office 8 to 5 with people that if I needed to just walk in and ask a question, I could just literally open the door or pick up the phone and be like, hey, can you help me with this? And being a contractor and working from home most of the time, that's not as easy to do here, but everybody is so responsive.
Yeah.
And will help in any way that we can. And I think that's one thing I love about our team is we all share some of the same responsibilities and we all know what's going on. So like if I need something and I can't get a hold of you, I know that I can call Alicia or Sin or Sadie and be like,
so many people in the know now.
Hey, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
So
tell me more about what I can do here. Yeah.
Instead of like most workplaces, it's you're working with one person, and if that one person is out of touch, then you're kind of stuck.
See, I've never worked in here. I've never worked anywhere else. To me, I would still say like people. I still feel like people are not in the know enough. Like, so it's really neat. I mean, I think we're all working very hard to like be so communicative and like really get everything across so well. But yeah, that's neat. I love that. That is so fun. I like to see everyone like working together and like just really like going after it. And this year we're doing so many big events. We have
Yes.
so many things coming.
Yes.
We just are literally first day back in office for me since boot camp, our big March extravaganza, so successful, so much fun. And all the emails that had to take place to make that happen is insane because that's like our number one way we let people know all the things are happening, all the trainings are happening. I mean, there's so many metrics, like people have no idea like the numbers and like the analytics that go into everything we do. I would love to say we just make crafts. But there's a lot.
There is
of
a lot.
Planning.
And I think that's one thing that I didn't understand when I came on is, to me, you all were YouTubers. So when you said I need an email marketer, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You just post videos.
Yeah. Why do you need
Right.
emails? Which, like you said at the beginning, I have a blog, so I know the importance of having your own email list and what that means.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was important.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how important to this business it was until I was in it full force, and that's what made me come work for you. Was
So cool.
I love it. My passion, I've said it 17 times today,
Yeah.
is emails. I love writing, which is why I started a blog. But yeah, it's the things that go into Maker's Gonna Learn is crazy.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. And for us, like, we get to email all sorts of people. Like everyone's in a different part of our ecosystem, whether they're a diehard customer and we get to let them know about all the free stuff inside their membership, whether they're not a member and we want to convince them to join the crazy fun here, and all the things. Like there's always somewhere different we're wanting to encourage them. And it's just so interesting to me. So as we go through 2023, are we in 2023?
We are.
Oh
How
my
insane is
gosh.
that? When I said that I started work in March of 2022, I was like, wait, that was last month. No, it's not.
It was last year. Yeah, we're in 2023. That's crazy. What is something like that you're going to work on this year? And the reason I've asked every person this, I've asked everyone like, what are they working on for themselves this year? But the only reason I'm asking, and I'm going to start telling more people this because the first person I asked was Lauren, and it caught her really off guard. But the reason I want to ask is so that when you're watching this interview, or I'm watching this interview like 3 years from now, like you can like do a little self-reflect. You know what I mean? So like, what are you working on this year? I mean, besides your baby.
Well,
that is about to
growing
come.
a baby. Full transparency, I have listened to everybody's podcast because obviously I love everybody here and I'm obsessed with everybody in the podcast. But so I could prepare for this. So I knew this question was coming. But you know as well as I do that I am not done. I don't want to just do email marketing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work on my own business.
So cool.
So I thought about this as Alicia was talking in her podcast about where she could be in 5 years. I thought about having my own email marketing firm.
Love
so
it.
I could have
multiple clients,
multiple
multiple
clients.
baby clients. Yes.
And honestly, I would want people like me to work for me in the sense of like they felt stuck, but they felt like they didn't need to leave because it was a good place, or they just don't have the confidence in themselves. Like, because I had no confidence that I could do this. So I would love to hire people like that and show them. I would love to be able to tell people, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this.
Yeah.
And I also want to grow my blog.
I love it.
So I don't know.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
So
I don't know
good.
if my blog's going to turn into a masterclass type situation, a membership. There's going to be I don't know. I know
never
there's
know.
something out there.
I love it.
We're
So
working
exciting.
on pinpointing it down.
It's so exciting. I love the question because I think like looking back at like old videos of mine, like I'm like just to think about like what I thought was like it, and like going back is so nostalgic, and like getting to see what's all like happening and just all the things. It's just so fun. I think it's like such a great question to ask, and that way people also get to know and like be a part of it, and like just know that like. What's crazy is, a little over a year ago, you thought like working a contract wasn't possible.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Next year, you're like, oh my gosh, like, of course I could like take on more clients, or of course I could do this. Like, of course, right? Like, everything's possible here, and that's what I love about like all of it. It's so fun that we can work so hard together, but also say like, you may want to work for 5 other people too. And there's room for it all. Like there's truly room for it all. And we just get to support everyone as we go. And that's the fun part.
And
that's
I still
the
have
coolest
that very first conversation in our head where I was joking, was like, I want to make $100,000. And you were like, why not?
Why not?
Like, so now that's full speed ahead. That is where I'm going. It's like, I want that. And I'm not stopping there.
That's perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Tabatha, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Every time y'all receive an email from Makers Gonna Learn, our beautiful Tabatha has touched it and been a part of it and written it and looked over it. I mean, there's like a lot of steps with email. People don't even know.
There's so many steps
People have
with
no
email.
idea.
It's so funny. I've gotten faster.
Yeah.
I remember the first couple emails I wrote, I promise it took like 2.5 hours because I was
Bless it. You're just
terrified.
overthinking it.
I was.
Yeah.
And making sure 5 times that I use the correct link or the correct graphic. The links are scary.
I mean, you're casually emailing like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that I send the correct people the correct links,
email.
And
Yeah.
it's just, so I will
I love that.
shamefully say 2.5 hours on the first
That's
couple
fine.
emails.
That's fine.
I'm good
It's
now,
all with
like,
love.
Oh my God, yeah. Now I'm like,
yeah.
Tanner will text me and be like, hey, can you write me an email? And I'm like, give me 30 minutes.
I'll do it on my
45
phone.
I will say that's impossible. I've
Yeah,
tried.
it is. It's fine.
Trust me, I've tried.
It's probably better that way.
Yeah. And I get mad because our email service provider, I'm like, why can I not do this on my phone? I just want to change this one thing. But then I'm like, you know what?
It's probably better.
Autocorrect.
Yeah.
I'm glad I can't do it
so
on my
good.
phone.
Well, my friends, I am so glad that you were able to meet our amazing Tabatha. She is so much fun. And I think just being able to hear and see how just another creative pivoting and this journey of life. It's been so much fun. So thanks so much for watching. We're so excited that you were here. If you have any comments, please drop them down below. Tabatha and I will be reading them. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to give the podcast a thumbs up. And of course, you can always listen to our podcast anywhere you find your podcast, on Apple, Spotify. I don't know where else to listen to podcasts. So those are the only 2
I watch
platforms
them
I
on
use.
YouTube.
Please watch them on YouTube. That is the whole reason we're posting these. Like, we would love that. So
I like seeing everybody's facial expression.
I know. And watching me manage these cameras over here. Is
I
actually
actually
funny.
never noticed you doing that until today. And I was like, what is he doing? And then I was like, oh, that's how the camera's change.
That's how it happens.
It's not magic. What do you
Not
think, Tanner
magic,
does it?
unfortunately. No, just me, double duty over here producing. All right, my friends, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here real soon. Bye. Thank you guys so much for watching a Makers Gonna Learn Unfiltered podcast. This has been such a fun time getting to hang out with you, and I want to make sure to let you guys know you can actually watch this podcast wherever you love to watch podcasts. So whether you want to consume it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube with an audio video podcast, we got you covered, and I want to say thank you for hanging out with us today for another episode. If you guys have any questions, be sure to let us know down below. We are always constantly looking for podcast ideas, so if you have a topic you think we should cover that me or the team would love, drop it down below. If you need anything, reach out to hi@makersgonnalearn.com. And if you have not joined our amazing crafting community, check out makersgonnalearn.com. I will leave you an amazing offer right down below to get you plugged in and get started today. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.